Welcome to this C programming tutorial, guys. This tutorial is basically an introduction to lab 2. In this lab, we will cover some basic concepts, for example, variable. Variable is basically a storage location in memory and we assign it some value. We will create some variables here as well and we will write the naming rules as well. So let's do that first. Just before writing the name of variable, we always define the data type first. So here the data type is integer. So I have written int, and let's define some variables. And here I have written two variables. One is sum and the second is underscore a. And I have not assigned any value to these, but if I want to print these variables in the terminal, so for that I have written here printf and I'm writing the values of variable sum and underscore a. And if I run this code, let's see what we get in the terminal. So we get exactly the same sentence, the value of variable sum and underscore a. So let's suppose if I assign some value to this. So sum is equal to, let's say it is 20, and let's assign this variable also a value. So I'm assigning it a value of 34. And let's run this code. And as you can see in the terminal, we are not seeing any value. Although we have assigned sum is equal to 20 and underscore is equal to 34. For that, we have to use format specifier. And %d is a format specifier. Let me show you first %d and %d, and after these inverted commas I will be writing a comma and I will be writing here sum comma underscore a. And now let's run this code, and as you can see in the terminal we have the values for both of these variables in the terminal. So this is basically the use of format specifier, and these are two different variables we have used. And this time I'm defining another variable 1, 2, 3 and I'm assigning a value 54 to it. Now let's run this code, and as you can see in the terminal there is an error. This error occurred because we are not following the naming rules of the variable. We cannot write a variable that starts with a digit. Let me print this as well, comma 1, 2, 3, and there will be an error because we are not following the naming rule again, because we cannot start any variable with a digit. So let's suppose I have add underscore before this variable name, and now let's print this code and it is printed correctly now in the terminal. So we have to keep these things in our mind, that we cannot write any variable name which starts with a digit. The variable name can contain any alphabet and underscore, and also it can contain digits, but it cannot start with a digit value. Also, the variable cannot contain special characters. So these are some basic concepts on variables and some of the rules on variables. And also we will be learning different data types, and lab 2 is basically based on integer data type. Although there are other data type, for example character, integer, float, double, and these are the example for the integer data type that I have written 23, 5, 100. And there are few examples for the floating point data type, for example 3.45 and 56.2, and there are many other examples that basically contain the decimal. And there are other data types that we will be covering in our later labs. Also we will be learning about declaring a variable, and in our prior example, this one, we have learned how to declare a variable. Also we have learned about format specifier in this video, and we will be covering this format specifier in our upcoming tutorial on lab 2 as well. And there is another thing, arithmetic operators. Basically there are many types of arithmetic operator: plus, minus, multiply and divide. There are dedicated tutorials available on arithmetic operators that you will be covering in upcoming tutorials. And there are few more rules, and one of the rule is precedence. If some equation is written, then what will be the order of operation? Which operation will be performed first? So that's why we use this precedence. And it says that parentheses will be solved first, and then multiplication and division will happen, and finally addition and subtraction will happen. Also, we will learn how to take user input if the data type is integer. And we will cover some practice tasks as well. And let me show you those practice tasks. This is one of the tasks where we will be learning how to take the user input when the data type is integer. And let me run this code. And as you can see in the terminal, it is asking us to enter a number. So I have entered a number and it is asking me to enter the second number. And after that, the code gets end. So this is one of the tasks that we will be learning, and then we have this task on arithmetic operators. We will be covering how to take sum, product, subtraction and multiplication, and remainder division, or we can say modulus. If I run this code, and as you can see, if 7 is divided by 2, the remainder will be 1. And if, for example, I have to show here the result for the sum, then we know 7 plus 2 is equal to 9, and in the output it is showing us 9. So we will be covering these arithmetic operators as well in our upcoming tutorial. And this is another task in which we will be writing the code for mini calculator. We will be writing the code so that the user can enter two digits, and then addition, subtraction, multiplication and division will be performed. So let's run this code, and as you can see, the code is asking us to enter a number. So I have entered a number and entered another one, and here is the sum, subtraction, product and division in the terminal. Then there is another task which basically is focused on if we have an equation to solve, then how we can write the code to solve this equation. So if I run this code, it must show the answer for this equation. So these are all of the tasks that we will be covering in lab 2. So that's all for this video guys. See you in the next video.